So here's the Q&A video I promised I would do in November. Some of you have written to me via comments in YouTube. Some of you have emailed me because you want to stay anonymous, which is fine. So I will jump straight in and hopefully offer you some tiny little crumbs of wisdom. So the first question I've got here is from James Carnell, who comments on a lot of my videos. Hi James. He says, how often do you have to come out in everyday life? That is a good question. It's also quite a difficult question because I think it depends on what you're doing in your everyday life and where you're at in life in general. For me, everyday life, I don't come out that much. It's not to a point where I have to come out to a different person every single day. In fact, it's quite rare to really have to come out. Most of the time, if you're interacting with people who are just, you're meeting, once and then moving on, you don't need to really, doesn't come up anyway. And for people who you do see more long term, it's just something you would eventually tell them, and that will kind of be it. I think for me in my life at the moment, it's not too bad. I think the hardest thing sometimes is because I've had a number of jobs in a very short amount of time over the past couple of years because I've been on temporary contracts and whatnot. And that's always been difficult to have to kind of go in to a whole new set of people and think, oh gosh, I forgot that eventually something's gonna come up and they're gonna find out I'm gay, and it might be really awkward, or it might not at all. And usually it's not at all. It's probably just an issue that I implant in my head that really doesn't have to be an issue at all. But yeah, there are always awkward moments, and my fiance and I find sometimes that we get asked really odd things by people who, have no real significance in our lives. For example, we went to the supermarket recently and a random man who we didn't know, who worked for the supermarket, came up to us and just wanted to have a chat and said, hello, good morning, how are you? She said hello, and he said, oh, are you two sisters? And we both just look at each other like, no. That's really odd. And it is odd to think that, heterosexual couples would go out to do their shopping and no one would go up to them and say, are you brother and sister? And it's weird because A, me and my fiance do not look alike. Put up a picture. No, I'm not trying to go out with a mirror version of myself. We do not look alike. And B, and most pertinently, my fiance is French and has a French accent. So when you meet me, I'm going to sound very British and say, hello, good morning, how are you today, with a perfect British accent. And then my fiance is going to go, hello, how are you today? I come from France. Vive la France. Bonjour, au revoir, moi. So why on earth how could we be sisters? It's very strange. So yeah, I would say moments like that are really awkward, and we both look at each other and neither of us can kind of fathom in the strangeness of the moment to say, no, we're actually engaged. So we just look at each other and go, no, we're not sisters, and just walk away feeling really freaked out. But it's a laugh. So I think much as it is awkward coming out, you just have to hold on to the funny side of it, because I think that's what makes it entertaining. Life's never dull. So question number 2 is from someone who has put their name as Beneath the Skies. I'm hoping for some advice on coming out. I know that I'm gay. I think I've known it all my life, but I can't seem to bring myself to tell anyone. I guess because I've kept it a secret for so long, I just can't find the will to actually do it. Do you have any advice on how to come out? I know there's no easy way to do it, but how do you just do it? Hope this makes sense. Thank you. Yes, it does make perfect sense. How do you just do it? I think in the words of the famous slogan, you just do it. And I think it's easy for me to say that now, and it's probably you would look at me and think, oh, well, it's all right for you, you've kind of done it. But at the time it was really hard, and I think it got to the point for me where I was so emotionally battered from hiding my sexuality that it was a bit like, I suppose, ripping a band-aid or a plaster off and just doing it. But if you watch my coming out video, you'll see that I couldn't actually say the words I'm gay. When I came out, I wasn't still very comfortable with it within myself. So much as I would say it's better to wait until you're comfortable within yourself about being gay, sometimes you just have to do it because you need to turn to the people around you and say, this is how I feel, this is who I am, I need help, I need support, I need some people around me now because I can't do this on my own anymore. And I think that for me was the stage I got to, and that for me was the best outcome because I got some fantastic support and help, and that's what kind of carried me to a healthier state of mind. I appreciate if you are 100% sure that your family are going to react badly, it is a bit different, but I would strongly recommend coming out to someone, whoever that may be, whether it's a close friend, a more distant family member, somebody you can trust, or just an anonymous stranger. Sometimes just telling somebody, even through the internet, it's kind of like it's purging, you know, you get it out of you, it's cathartic, and it helps. So I think you just have to do it, and if it means writing a letter instead of saying it, or writing an email instead of saying it, find a way that works for you and just do it, because if not, you know, a part of your life is on hold and that's not fair on you. So next question I have here is from Kay Brockett, who says, what made you think, right, I'm going to accept it and get on with it? Are you now more comfortable with it? Yes, definitely more comfortable. I mean, fully comfortable within myself. Sometimes I get a wake-up call from the outside world, and this is why I urge people to never be complacent. Even yesterday or day before, I think it was, I was walking around in a public area. I'd just gone to get a coffee and I was walking outside and I heard a group of people walk past me and they said something like, oh, yeah, I heard she's a lesbian. Not talking about me, obviously talking about somebody else that they know. I heard she's a lesbian, and oh yeah, well, she's a bit weird, but yeah, you know. And they didn't necessarily say anything bad. I can't really remember what they said, but it was just like, oh, she's a lesbian. They all looked a bit like perturbed about it and were having a gossip. And I kind of feel like saying, and like what, like why does this random person being a lesbian have any significance to you liking her or hating her or having an opinion about her? It's just weird, because I wouldn't go around and be like, oh my gosh, you know, do you know that girl we know, or that guy, you know, he's heterosexual, like what do you think about that? Do you know, like freak you out a bit? It just doesn't happen. So I think sometimes you get reality checks and it kind of punches me in the heart, and I think, oh, I am still considered to some extent, to some, you know, small group of people, weird, and that's weird, and I that is weird. And I think it's strange when you have somebody who you've known for a while, who you know likes you, and you actually quite like them, and you have a friendship, or you work together, and then later down the line they find out you're gay, and then the relationship's tarnished. I find that very hard, because I think, but I'm still me, I'm still Anna, I'm the person. We laughed about this together, we worked on this together, we went to this place together, we've been friends for however many years, you like me, you like me, you like me. Why does this now make any difference? I don't understand. And I think that's probably the hardest thing for me, but it's also the thing that makes me a very determined person, drives me forward, makes me an activist, makes me do these videos. So I think you have to take the negativity and kind of make it bloom into a positive thing. And I realise I haven't answered the other half of your question. What made you think, right, I'm going to accept it? I think a variety of things. A, like I said, I think my mental state had just got to the point where I couldn't keep it within me anymore. And B, and I think I've also said this in my coming out video, which you should watch it because it's hilarious, and I'm much younger there and I have these massive like Pat Butcher earrings on and all sorts of stuff going on, but bless my heart. As I said in that video, I knew a lot of people, I still know a lot of people in life, I think we all know people in life who are in, you know, unhappy relationships or unhappy marriages, or perhaps had this potential to go and do something, but they prevented themselves from doing it because they were scared, or because they just didn't feel they were capable of it, or whatever it may be. And I thought, if I don't come out, if I don't try and embrace this part of who I am, I will never be any better than these people, because I'm sat here on my high and mighty throne looking at others and saying, well, what an idiot she is, you know, she should have done this and she never did it because she was too scared, or why didn't he do that, he was too scared, and why don't they just end their marriage because they're not happy. I'm sitting here judging people, and then, you know, put a mirror here and I'm hiding my sexuality and I'm too scared to come out, and I can't stand up and be bold and be an example for all these people. And I'm not just talking about gay people, I'm talking about people who are just not happy in their lives and are too scared or weak or embarrassed to stand up and say, right, I'm going to be really bold and risk everything I've got to make this change, because life's too damn short. If I can't do it, then everyone should sit on their pedestals and judge me because I'm a submissive, inferior fool. I'm an absolute fool. You have one life. Why am I scurrying around pretending in part to be somebody else. And you know, I still do it now to some extent. Sometimes people will assume that my partner is a man or that I'm straight, and I don't stand up and say, no, you are wrong, I am a high and mighty lesbian. You just get on with it because you can't be bothered sometimes, and then I go home and then I'm upset with myself. But compared to how it was, you know, 8-10 years ago, I've come forward so far, and I'm not ashamed of being gay. I used to be ashamed of it. I try and counsel others so that they're not ashamed of it. I have learned an incredible amount. I've read a lot of scripture. I went on a long journey with my religion. I've really threw myself into my discipline of sociology, of trying to understand society and understand why people think the way that they do. And I think all that kind of hoisted me up to an extent where it was kind of ironic that even in my weakest moment, where I did come out and I wasn't happy and I was really scared and I wasn't comfortable, something within me just propelled me forward, and made me get to where I am today, I guess. And now I'm like I don't even know what the word is. I will go mad, quite, you know, I will do what needs to be done. If I heard something strongly homophobic, depending on the scenario, I would not be scared to go right up to the face of someone and be like, say it to my face, say it again, why are you saying that, what's your problem? Whereas, you know, 10 years ago, I'd have just shuddered and, you know, walked away and thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to burn in hell. And obviously now I know that's not the case. But I think it is a journey, and those are some of the reasons that led me to do it. And I think it's, perhaps I was lucky, perhaps I was, I don't know, enlightened by some force in a way, because it's not every day that you wake up and think, right, I'm going to make a change. I did, you can, so just do it. And life is too short, way too short. I haven't even done half the things I want to do in life, but I've done a hell of a bloody lot of them. So don't be complacent, get out there, do it, and grab your life, because it will be gone before you know it, unfortunately. Next question is from Deb Michael. She says, my question is, what else do you think needs to be done in terms of LGBT rights? Good question. A lot, really. I think legally we have, in the UK anyway, we've come a long way. I can get married, you know, I can't be discriminated against. I have legal protection, which is highly important. But I think just changing people's minds, and one of the biggest issues in the UK, because where I live anyway, we're a highly multicultural society, which is fantastic for a number of reasons, but it also means that there are some very strong, deep-rooted religious views that I live around, you know, and I interact with on a daily basis, that will view me as a sinner, that view me as someone who should be changed. And I think trying to break down that barrier is probably the most important thing, and that is being a change agent, and that's something we can all do. It's not about having one law changed and then everything changed. It's about all of us going out as individual people and doing things every day, tiny little micro actions that will change the larger ideology over a long period of time, change the consciousness of people. So even if I have hard things said to me, I think it's to continue to talk to people and to slowly change their view. And it might not be that, you know, I interact with a strong Muslim person or a strong Christian person who I know is against homosexuality. I'm not saying they're going to change their mind because of me, but I think the fact that they like me, they warm to me, they can talk to me, they see me as hopefully a supportive and kind person, it can't help but go into their judgment and think, well, you know, my religion says that Anna should change and Anna's bad, but I like Anna and Anna's been nice to me. And I think that creates a conflict in their mind, and I'm not saying they're going to stand up and then support same-sex marriage, but that conflict will feed into a slight change of how they view homosexuality, and therefore how we all interact with each other on everyday life. So I think that is the most important thing that needs to happen now, and it's also the hardest thing, because in many ways it's not visible. You can't see me every day and who I speak to and what I do with my tiny little conversations that I hope make a difference, nor can I see you. But I think the more we do that, the more things will change, especially for children, my children, your children, children that are out there now in schools, because schools and educational settings, I work in an educational setting, is really, really tough to be able to come out and to be able to look around and think, will my peers accept me? So the more we can talk, I think the more important our message is, and hopefully the more equality we will continue to gain. And then the final YouTube comment I've got here from Jeff Weil, sorry, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Hi Jeff, you write on a lot of my videos, I hope you're well. He says, can you help how to come out, can you help how to come out, get over the fears, anxiety, how it feels to be genuine, to live authentic, keep up the videos and helping us. Thank you very much, that's very kind of you. How do you get over it? I mean, there isn't really like a clear formula, I would say, to getting over the anxiety. I think the only way forward, which is the worst way forward, is to face it. So it's to say, I'm fearful about coming out, I'm scared about telling you, I'm anxious about how you're going to react. But I think the more you run away from it, the more you build it up into a bigger thing when actually it doesn't have to be. So I think facing it head on, you know, there's people, even today when I think people I meet and continue to meet, and they're new people in my lives and I haven't told them I'm gay, and every time they assume my partner's male and I don't correct them, it gets more and more awkward because I think, I haven't corrected them, it's now getting later down the line and they're going to think I'm a fool when I tell them because it's now been, you know, a series of weeks or months, and then it becomes a bigger fear and I get more anxious about it, and I just think, well, like, why didn't I just say in the first place? That would have probably been an easier thing to do. But I think that's something you just master as you get older and as you are in the process for longer. Maybe in 10 years, I will, as soon as I meet someone in any capacity and they assume I've got a boyfriend, I will immediately correct them. At the moment, it depends who that person is. I probably wouldn't immediately correct them. I would correct them over a period of time. But maybe in 10 years, I'll correct them straight away. You know, it's constantly learning and growing. So I think, unfortunately, the only way to get over the anxiety is to face it, because the more you face it, the more you can tame it, the more you familiarise yourself with it, and the more you know it. If you run away from your fears, they own you. It's no different to going on stage. You're scared of going on stage, but the more you do it, the more you know where to stand on the stage, how to look at the audience, how the audience react, how you should react when that audience reacts in a certain way. Whereas if you never go on that stage, and then you suddenly do, you're going to freak out. But if you've been on it 100 times, you're going to have a certain level of competence and knowledge. So it's no different, view it like that, because it is a social stage coming out, and the more you do it, the more you own it and it doesn't own you. And then a couple of questions I received anonymously via email. So Anon says, are people shocked when they find out you're gay, and how do you deal with it? Yeah, I think most of the time people are shocked, mainly because I am a more feminine looking woman, and I think that's mainly the only reason. I think if I dressed and appeared in a way that looked more stereotypically gay, probably wouldn't be shocked. A lot of people still seem to think I'm like a heterosexual guru, and I've come to the conclusion, much as I laugh at it, I think maybe I am a heterosexual guru because I'm so objective. I am so objective, whereas when you are heterosexual, you know, you'd probably be like, oh, all men are the same, you know what men are like, men, boys, I do my head in. Whereas for me, I'm like, hold your horses there, people. We need to understand what these men are going through. Have you considered this? Have you considered that? And my female friends are like, do you know what? I've never thought of it like that before. You really opened my eyes, Anna. You know men so well. So it's quite funny. So yeah, I think they're shocked that I'm gay because they turn to me, I don't know why, for advice. And to be fair, I probably play along a bit and do things that would imply that I am straight, but like I'm just gay, like, you know, I just, it's just ridiculous because, you know, my relationship, I would say, is no different to me having a heterosexual relationship in terms of all the emotions and the issues and anything that goes on within it. It's just a relationship to me. So I try not to say, well, you know, you have these biological body parts and I have these, and therefore this makes a difference. You know, it's just like, just roll with it, guys, because we're all going through the same old stuff. And that's kind of it. And how do I deal with it if people are shocked when they find out I'm gay? I just laugh, really. I mean, it's a bit awkward. Sometimes I have had experiences where the people have literally gasped and been like, oh, and that's a bit weird. But I just laugh and I say, you know, I think it's good that you know now, and hopefully it will break a few stereotypes for you, and, you know, people come in all shapes, colours, forms, ages, sizes, whatever. And after a while, you know, well, not even after a while, after they've got over the initial shock of it, the next time they see me, it's just, they might ask a few questions, quite rare, but sometimes they do. And then it's just like, oh, it's Anna. And they ask about my partner, they ask about my wedding, they ask about my house, just as they would do if I was going out with a guy. So, and then it just becomes completely normal to them. And then it all works out for the good and for the best. And yeah, it's not an issue anymore. To be fair, I wish I could film people's responses when I do come out, because they would make for excellent viewing, but I don't think I can do that, sorry. And then the last question, which is anonymous via email, says, what do you dislike the most about the LGBT community? Ooh, that's a hard one. I have got a lot better, because I'm not, I know I'm gay, I get that, guys, but I'm not a big fan of the LGBT community in terms of the way it is represented and constructed and commonly viewed. I think what I find hard is that I feel I am quite an activist. I get very impassioned about things, and I think I would have been so good at being in a different minority group. And I know that sounds very strange, but I feel if I was like I mean, I am a feminist, I'm a women's rights activist, so I'm already doing that. But if I was in another group such as, you know, a black rights activist, well, you don't have to be black to be a black rights activist, but I feel like I would have fit in so much better to being in another minority group, because these activists are painted more in a more empowering way, in a strong way, in a way that people kind of understand and get. Whereas LGBT activists, and if you look at the LGBT movement, often it's still kind of, there's a sense of being a bit perverted, weird, weak, I would say, quite weak and scrawny sometimes. And of all like minority groups to be in, I'm like, oh gosh, like I didn't really want to be in that one. But you know, maybe there's a reason I'm in that one, and that's to try and, you know, change the face of it a bit more. And I know that sounds horrible and people will hate me for saying that, but that is the way that I viewed the movement growing up, and that is what led to me not wanting to really associate myself with it. So what do I dislike most about it? Just the stereotypes, really, and even in Pride, and yes, I do sometimes go to Pride politically, but some of the things you see, like guys dressing up in like S&M fetish stuff and dressing up as dogs in leather, and women, drag queens, and I'm just like, no, don't really get it. Like, I find that hard, and that's the thing I dislike about it. But that's also the thing that other people love about it. They love it, they love it. They go to their drag nights, they like to march down Pride with no clothes on. So I suppose who am I to take their happiness away if that's what makes them happy? But yeah, doesn't really roll with me, sorry. And that is it. Thank you so much for your questions. I hope something of what I've said has helped in some way. If you have any more questions, do drop me an email and I will help you as best I can. And thank you very much for listening. Peace.